All right, then let's get started seated. Letting the bony parts of your bum feel settled and heavy in the chair. I always like swaying back and forth, side to side, kind of finding that center of balance and seeing if you can evenly distribute the weight through both sides of your bum. And as you start to settle into a little bit of stillness, maybe feeling as though the crown of the head were lifting up, almost like you could stretch the spine up and not letting this be rigid or strained, but just a very gentle lengthening. Imagine that you could create some space between each vertebra. The soles of your feet might rest down firmly on the floor. The knees can be wherever they're comfortable. They could be about hip width distance. It might feel better to have a little more space. Finding your comfortable, strong stance. Let the hands rest wherever they feel good. They might be closer to your knees or closer up your thighs. Palms can be down if you're looking to feel a little bit more grounded. If there's any kind of anxiety or kind of too much energy in your body, it might feel good to have palms down. If we're feeling a little bit sluggish or like we could use a little boost, sometimes palms up might feel good. Just breathing, letting your body find its natural breath rhythm again. Just being here with your body in this tall seat. Your body's fully supported by the chair. Just allowing your body to breathe. From here, it might feel good if you feel as though there might be any tension in the forehead, just smoothing the forehead, softening the forehead. The eyes might close or they might stay open with the gaze soft. If there's any tension in the jaw, maybe softening the jaw any amount. You might find a little bit of space between the teeth. You might even find almost a yawning motion just to soften. You might find that it would feel good to soften the shoulders down any amount, almost as though they were clothes hanging on a clothes hanger, just letting them rest down. Letting the elbows be heavy and soft. How would it feel to soften the belly? If you're carrying any tension there, maybe allowing the belly to expand as you breathe. And sending the breath deep, deep down into the abdomen. Spending some time just observing your breath. Noticing how it feels to breathe this morning. Maybe noticing the subtle movements your body makes as you breathe. Maybe the chest expands, or the ribs, or the belly. Maybe there's some movement in all areas. You could bring your awareness to your back body and notice if there's any movement with breath in the back ribs. This is often a little more subtle. We might not feel anything at all. We're just noticing. You can keep your eyes closed if they're closed. Let's start moving into the neck a little bit. Still following your own breath. When your next exhale arrives, just tipping your chin down towards your chest, keeping it gentle, moving slowly. And we'll stay here, stretching a little bit into the back of the neck. Imagine sending your breath into the back of your neck, creating some space there, creating some softness. When your next when your next inhale arrives, let's lift the head, lifting the chin, tipping the head up towards the ceiling, not cranking. We're not going to our fullest range, maybe 60%, just a very gentle lift, keeping the back of the neck long, even in this lift, even in the tilt. Breathing here. And then let's start to continue moving with breath. When your next exhale arrives, tipping the chin down towards the chest. And then tipping the head up with your inhale, following your own rhythm. Letting this be slow and gentle, as slow as your breath. But once more in each direction, and then we'll meet back with the head facing forward. Taking your time. As you arrive with your head back in neutral, facing forward, noticing how the neck feels. Pausing in the stillness and giving yourself a chance to notice what's going on in the neck, what sensations are coming up. Was there any area of stuckness, some more stiffness? And now let's turn the head from side to side gently. Again, we'll pause to one side, breathe for a couple of cycles of breath, come back to center and do the same on the other side. So we'll start in center with an inhale. As you exhale, turning the head to one side. Pausing here, taking one full breath cycle. When your next inhale arrives, slowly making your way back to center. Taking a full breath in center, noticing how it felt to move in that direction. And then when your exhale arrives, we'll turn the head to the other side. Breathing here for a full breath cycle. Inhaling back to center as you're ready. Spending a breath with the head facing forward. And then we'll start to move with breath. When your next exhale arrives, turning to the left. Inhaling back to center as you're ready. And exhaling to the right as your breath arrives. About 2 more on each side, moving with your breath. Moving as slow as the breath moves. Noticing how the neck feels. Noticing any areas of stickiness or stiffness. Giving yourself the time and space to notice what's happening in your body. Meet back in center as you're ready. No rush to get there. Pausing as you arrive, noticing sensations. Paying attention to any after effects or sensations that come up. And then let's tip our head from side to side. So rather than turning or tilting the head this time, We're tipping the ear down to one side. So again, we'll inhale and center. Exhale, tipping one ear towards one shoulder. And it might feel good to breathe here for a breath cycle. Inhaling back up to center as you're ready. Pausing for a breath. When your next exhale arrives, we'll tip the other ear towards the other shoulder. Pausing here. Full breath cycle. Then inhaling all the way back up as you're ready. Let's move down into the shoulders a little bit. Hands can stay on your lap wherever they're resting. Sometimes it feels good to lift the hands or even to bring fingertips to shoulders. So you can choose your preferred variation. And we'll roll the shoulders in one direction, whichever feels more natural to you. And then let's switch directions, rolling the other way. And allowing the hands to rest back down, allowing the shoulders to melt back down. Giving yourself that pause, noticing sensations in the shoulders, maybe all the way up into the neck and head. For today's, we'll start to move down into the spine, but we'll kind of bring the arms into it a little bit as well. So for today's arm position for our side bend, let's bring the fingertips to the low ribs. And you might crawl the fingers up your ribs, almost as though you could bring your thumbs towards your armpits. We're pulling the shoulder blades back towards each other a little bit, so it might feel as though your elbows are pulling back behind you. Inhale in a nice tall position. As we exhale, let's tip over to the left. Keeping the right sit bone really heavy on the chair. Then inhaling back to center as you're ready. Exhaling to the other side. Back to center with an inhale. Let's do two more following your own breath. Exhaling to tip and inhaling to come back to center. Keeping your feet firmly on the floor, they are your anchors. Keeping your bum firmly in the chair, both sides glued down. Arriving back to center as you're ready. As long as you feel even, releasing the hands back down to your lap. Might shimmy the shoulders a little bit, finding any wiggling that would feel good. Let's move into our arching and rounding of the spine. I'll turn sideways so that you can see what I'm doing. So from your tall spine, again, there are a couple of variations here. The first one would be having your hands towards your knees or thighs. We'll do one together. So bringing your hands onto your lap, palms down. Inhaling in a nice straight spine. As you exhale, pushing the knees or thighs away, pulling the belly button towards your spine and rounding the spine. The chin might tip down towards the chest and the shoulder blades might spread apart. As you inhale, we'll reverse it, bringing the belly forward, the chest forward, and the chin might tip up. As you exhale, coming back to a neutral spine. So that's one variation of our cat-cow. Another variation, if it feels okay for shoulders, would be to bring your fingertips to the back of your head so that the thumbs are kind of facing down behind your ear. The fingertips might interlace or they might be a little further apart. You can decide what feels good for your shoulders. And this is the second variation. Inhaling in a nice tall spine again. As you exhale, we'll draw the elbows towards each other, pulling the belly toward the spine, finding that same rounded position like a Halloween cat. As you inhale, chest and belly come forward, elbows reach back behind you, and the chin might tip up or the gaze might lift. Exhaling, coming back to a neutral spine, releasing the hands. And then deciding which variation suits you best today. We'll do 3 rounds. So whether hands are on your lap or hands are behind your head, absolutely your choice. What feels best in your body today? As you're ready, inhale in a tall seat, and then start with the exhale, rounding into the Halloween cat shape. As you inhale, chest and belly come forward. Exhaling to find that round position. Moving with your own breath to the rhythm of your own body for a total of about 3 cycles. As you're ready, as you've completed about 3 cycles of breath, coming back to a neutral spine, releasing the hands if they're lifting. And noticing how that felt in your body, noticing sensations in maybe the front ribs or back body, maybe in the shoulders, just giving yourself the time and space to notice. Let's come into our twist. So I'd like to do a different variation of a twist. I'll give a few options. Either we can stay with feet firmly planted on the floor, knees apart. Another option would be to cross right leg over left. And the third option would be to draw the ankle of the right foot over the left knee. So any of these variations this morning, whichever one works for you. And if you get to try one position and it doesn't feel good, you can always come back to a different variation. So either both feet firmly planted, right thigh crossed over left, or right ankle over left knee. In any of the leg variations, inhaling to sit nice and tall. As you exhale, let's turn towards the right. The left hand might come to rest on the right thigh. The left hand might come to rest on the left thigh. Right thigh, oh my goodness, lefts and rights this morning. Right hand might sweep back beside your hip or behind you on your chair. Keeping the legs quite firm, even if the crossed leg, keeping your sit bones heavy on the chair. So we're thinking about just moving the shoulders and letting this be a gentle twist. We're not cranking, we're not pulling with the hands. They're just there for support. If it would feel good for your neck, you could turn to look over or in the direction of your right shoulder. With your next inhale, let's come back to center. Unwinding the leg if it's lifted or the cross, bringing both feet back to the floor. Noticing again how your body feels, any sensations that are coming up, giving yourself this breath in between to notice. And then we'll move into the other side. So either keeping both feet firmly on the floor, left thigh could cross over right, or left ankle could cross over right knee, coming almost into a figure 4 shape. So choosing your leg variation, this side could be different, so you might be in a different variation than on the right side. As you're ready, inhaling nice and tall. As you exhale, turning the shoulders towards the left this time. The right hand might come to rest on the left thigh or knee. The left fingertips might come back beside your left hip or behind you on the chair. Keeping the sit bones firmly on the chair, keeping the legs really stable. And thinking about turning just the shoulders. We're not cranking using the hands, they're just there to support and keep the spine tall. If it would feel good for your neck, you could look over or in the direction of your left shoulder. With an inhale, as you're ready, coming back to center, unwinding. Unwinding or uncrossing the legs, bringing both soles of the feet back to the floor if they were lifted. Noticing how you feel. Let's move down into the hips a little bit. We did side bending, twisting, yes, down into the hips. Let's start with the right leg. So let's draw right leg up with the hands, holding either under the thigh or you could hold around the shin. And we'll start just by opening the leg out to the side a couple of times, letting the leg be quite passive. Just noticing the passive range of motion, how it feels to bring the hip out to the right or the knee out to the right. And then pausing with your knee open like a gate. And then imagine that you could draw the knee further back without the use of your hand, using the muscles in your leg. And this is where we might find some activation in the outside edge of the right hip. Pulling the knee open, not using your hands, just having the hand there for support. So those outer hip muscles are what we need for balance, especially in winter when ice is around. So we want to strengthen them. Bringing the knee back to a neutral position. And let's release the right foot down to the floor. Switching over to the right side, lifting the left side. Holding either under the thigh or around the shin or maybe holding the knee. And we'll find the same movement, drawing the left knee out to the left a few times. Exploring the passive range of motion first. And then with your knee open like a gate out to the left, imagine that you could pull the knee, draw the knee further back without the use of your hand. Your hand is just there to support the lift. But widening or drawing the left knee back, you might find some activation in the back of the hip muscle, outside edge of your hip. Glute med is the muscle we're aiming for. And then bringing the knee back towards center to a more neutral position, releasing the foot back to the floor. It might feel good to move the knees from side to side, kind of a windshield wiper action. Let's add on to that a little bit. I'm just sitting a little bit further on my chair so that I've got a little more space to move in my hips. So it might feel good just to bring the sit bones a little closer to the edge. Let's come back to the right thigh, lifting the right thigh. And this time we'll draw some hip circles. And if you wanted to test your more active range of motion, you could see how little support you could use your hand. If you can move the knee in circles without the use of your hand, just noticing. Noticing how far you get. Let's switch directions, either with the support of the hand, or you could see how much range you have without the support of your hand, or if you can lighten the support of your hand. Let's bring the right foot back down to the floor. Giving yourself this in between, both feet on the floor, noticing differences from one hip to the other. And then let's move into the left thigh. So lifting left leg again, maybe holding under the thigh or around the knee or shin. And we'll start by drawing hip circles, letting them begin passively, using your hand to move the knee. And then maybe testing. How light can the support of your hand be? How much strength do you have in your leg? How much of the movement can you direct with your leg? And then let's switch directions. Playing with that balance between passive and active support. Then as you're ready, allowing left foot to come back down to the floor. Giving yourself that in between. Might feel good again to find a little bit of movement in the knees. Then coming back to your tall seat, pausing for a moment, just breathing. Noticing any sensations in the body. Your hips or thighs might be talking to you a little bit. Maybe you're feeling another sensation. One more time, we'll lift the right knee. This time we're just going down into the feet a little bit. So lifting just enough so that the sole of the foot can come off the floor. And we'll move the ankle or the foot into some circles. Switching directions as you're ready. Let's point and flex the foot a few times, pointing toes to the floor and then drawing them up towards your shin. And then releasing right foot to the floor, pausing, noticing any differences between right foot and left foot, noticing the sensations. And then we'll come into lifting the left leg again, just enough so the sole of the foot can come up, and finding some ankle circles. Switching directions as you're ready. Pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And then releasing left foot back to the mat, back to the floor. Beautiful. Before we move into our sun salutations, I had one more arm exercises that I wanted to play with. I'll turn sideways so that you can see what I'm doing. So for this one, legs can be in a stable position in front of you, our usual tall seat. The left hand will come to rest on the thighs or support you on your thighs. The right hand will start by hanging down by my side or your side. We'll bend the elbow so that we've kind of got a right angle going. And here is the movement we're going to play with. As you inhale, drawing the elbow back behind you. And then exhaling the hand back down, or the elbow back down. So the arm stays in this kind of right angle square shape. And inhaling, we're just drawing the elbow back. So we're kind of stretching into the back of the right arm, the tricep. Exhaling back down. Inhaling to draw the elbow back. Exhaling to release it. And exploring your range, how far back can you draw without any strain, but just noticing. Moving with your own breath a couple of times. You might feel in the front of your body as well as you draw the right elbow back, the right chest and collarbones kind of stretch and open a little bit. Releasing as you're ready. Noticing sensations, maybe in the chest, maybe more in the arm or in the upper back. And then we'll switch sides. So this time the right arm will be supported, or right forearm will be supported on your thighs as you lean forward slightly. We'll start with the left arm down by your side, bringing a right angle bend into the elbow. And we'll move with breath, inhaling to draw the elbow back behind you. Exhaling to release. We're keeping the bend in the elbow. Inhaling to draw the elbow and arm back. Exhaling to come forward. Moving with your own breath a few times. Letting this be the last one. Then releasing the arm, coming back to a tall seat. Noticing if one side felt quite different. My left experience was quite different from my right. Not sure if anybody else felt quite such a difference. Just noticing. Making any movement that might feel good. And let's set up for our sun salutations. We'll move through our sun salutations 3 times. And we've got some variations. I'll try and do a different variation each time, but you can stick with whatever feels good or vary it along with me. So knees can be about hip width distance apart, or it might feel good to have knees wider. There's a point in our sun salutation where we come into a forward fold. And sometimes the compression between belly and thighs feels good, but sometimes it feels better to have the torso fit through your legs. So starting in your preferred variation, if you know, finding that tall and neutral seat to begin. As you're ready, let's sweep arms either up and overhead with an inhale, or the arms could come wide as well if that feels good. Exhaling to bring hands back to thighs. Inhaling to bring the chest forward, that cat-cow variation. Exhaling to round the spine, really bringing belly back towards the spine, back towards the back of the chair. Chin tucks down. Inhaling to come back to a tall seat. Exhaling to find your variation of a forward fold. Maybe forearms come to thighs, or fingertips trace the shins, or maybe the hands come to the floor. As you arrive in your forward fold, allow your head to be heavy. Breathe here for about 3 breaths. When your next inhale arrives, let's sweep the right arm up into a twist. Exhaling, right arm back down. This time, left arm sweeps up into a twist. Inhale. Exhale, left arm down. Both arms sweep up and wide or overhead. Exhaling, hands to your thighs, coming back to that tall and neutral seat. So either keeping legs exactly the same, or maybe widening legs for a second variation. The movements and breath pattern will be the same, so you can test your favorite. As you're ready, with an inhale, we'll sweep arms either up and overhead or wide. Exhaling, hands to the thighs. Inhale to your cow variation, chest and belly come forward, gaze lifts. Exhaling to round the spine like a Halloween cat. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to fold forward. Forearms might come to thighs. Fingertips might trace the shins, or maybe the hands come to the floor, letting the head release as you arrive in your fold. Breathing here. One more breath cycle. When your next inhale arrives, let's sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling, right arm down. Left arm, inhale, sweep up into a twist. Exhale, left arm down. Inhaling, both arms sweep up and maybe wide or overhead. Exhaling, hands to thighs. One more time, your favorite variation, adjusting legs as required or preferred. As you're ready, inhaling, sweeping arms wide or up and overhead. Exhaling, hands to thighs. Finding cat-cow, inhale, chest comes forward, belly comes forward, gaze lifts. Exhale to round the spine like a Halloween cat, belly towards the back of the chair. Inhaling, tall and neutral spine. Exhaling to fold. Allowing your head to rest down as you arrive. 2 more breaths here. With your next inhale, right arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhale, right arm down. Inhale, left arm sweeps into a twist. Exhale, left arm down. Inhale, both arms sweep up and overhead or wide. Exhaling, hands to your thighs. Beautiful. Taking a moment, just noticing any sensations from our few sun salutations. Maybe a little warmth or flowing of energy. And then let's come to standing. We'll do a balance pose. I think I took longer to do everything today, so we're close to our end time already. So coming to seated, or excuse me, to standing any way that feels good. And we'll have the back of the chair, the backrest available. Let's start with a chair variation of down dog. So letting your hands rest on the top of the backrest of the chair. And we'll walk the feet back. The feet can be quite wide. I usually go wider than hip width distance for this one. And the knees can be bent. And we're thinking about reaching the tailbone in one direction and the crown of the head forward, lengthening the spine. Sometimes it can feel good to sway from one leg to the other a little bit, like we're wagging your tails. Or it might feel better just to find some stillness here. Couple of breaths. Breathing length into your spine. And as you're ready, coming forward, walking towards the chair. Making your way slowly back to standing. And we'll pause with feet firmly on the floor. Maybe thinking about lifting the crown of the head up. You might find a sense of broadening the shoulders, both front of the chest and back of the upper back. Beautiful. Let's find some balance. I'm turning just so that one hand rests easily on the chair, but if it feels good to face the back of the chair so either hand has access, that's okay too. You can always use a wall also if you have one available. Let's start by standing on the left foot and letting the right foot get light. Let's step the right toes to the left on the outside edge of the left foot. And then maybe it would feel okay to draw the right knee out to the right. Options here. The toe can stay on the floor and we can play with balance just with that little kickstand. Another option would be to lift the right leg, bringing the ankle somewhere along the shin or even above the knee. Letting it be playful, knowing that if you fall out, it's just yoga, you can come back in. If you've lifted the knee or the foot and you're almost in this figure four shape, make sure the right foot stays flexed. And yep, you can play with your balance. Maybe one hand stays on the chair, maybe it lifts. Maybe the standing leg bends slightly. That can either help or hinder depending on how you feel. Remembering to breathe. Oh, we've got some thunder. Then slowly coming back to standing, bringing the foot back down and landing on both feet. Finding any wiggling that would feel good. And then if you were supported on one side, let's switch so that the support's on the other side. We'll stand on the right leg. Left foot will start to get light. Let's cross the toes over to the right. And then think about sending left knee out to the left. Options here. Toes can stay on the floor. This might be enough of a challenge for this morning. If you're looking for a little more, you could lift the left foot, sliding it up along your leg, maybe to the shin or maybe above your knee. Keeping the left foot flexed if it's up above your knee. And then playing with balance. Maybe a hand lifts. Maybe one stays on the chair. Maybe you've got some swaying branches. Remembering to breathe wherever you are. You might bend into the standing leg. That could help or hinder. You can decide, you can play. And then as you're ready, coming back to standing, unwinding the legs, bringing the toes back down to the floor. Both soles of the feet firmly planted, finding any wiggling that would feel good. Giving yourself a little space. We're going to swing the arms a little bit. The stance can be whatever's comfortable. Take up as much space as would feel good. Your feet might be a little wider than usual. You might have a little bend in your knees. Or it might feel good to have a smaller stance. You can play and switch as feels good. We'll swing the hands, maybe coming up onto one set of toes. Maybe you're swaying from side to side a little bit. There are no rules here. Letting it be playful. Breathing as you move. Not necessarily coordinated, just breathing and moving. Slowly releasing the arms, coming back to standing position. Do one more chair down dog before we make our way back to seating. So facing the backrest of your chair. And the second round, you could play, rather than having your hands on the backrest, you could play with having your hands on the seat of the chair, depending on what would feel good in your body. So it will depend if it feels good to have your head below your heart or not. In either case, letting the hands be supported. Walking the feet back any amount. Feet can be wide, knees can be bent. Drawing the tailbone back behind you and the crown of the head towards your fingertips. Breathing. Maybe one more full breath cycle if it feels okay to stay. And then slowly making your way back to standing. As you're ready, no rush. As you arrive, feeling both feet firmly on the floor. Feeling that sense of lengthening of the spine, crown of the head lifting, shoulders broadening. Feeling tall and strong. And let's make our way back to seated. It is 45 minutes after the hour if anybody has a time limit and needs to rush off. I'll be about 3 more minutes. So settling in as you arrive, letting the soles of the feet once again rest down. Letting the backs of the thighs rest down in the chair. And you can decide if you have a backrest, if it feels better to have that to finish in this tall seat, or if it would feel good to soften back into your backrest. Taking a few moments just to breathe, letting your natural rhythm of breath return. Hands can rest wherever they feel good. Sometimes as I finish practice, I like to rest hands on belly and heart. That might be something you explore. And as we come to the close of our practice, if it's in your practice, you could bring your hands into prayer position or Anjali Mudra. It could feel good to have hands over heart. Your variation. First of all, sending gratitude to yourself for making the time to practice, for making it to your mat this morning, honoring your body, moving and breathing together. With gratitude to each and every one of you for making the time to practice with me this morning and allowing me to guide you. And with gratitude to all the students and teachers who've come before us, passing down this practice. Peace. I'll stop the recording, and if anybody would like to chat, we will be here.